Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of Google Developers Live. This is AppScript. My name is Ikai and
Arun here.
And we have a good show for you guys today. There's a lot of good stuff coming up. And before we get started, I want to announce a few things. First off, if you haven't yet signed up for a Los Angeles hackathon that's happening in the middle of November, it's happening in, I think, 3 weeks now?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, no, the 13th.
Go and go to your favorite search engine, whichever it may be, and search for AppScript Hackathon Los Angeles. We still have some spots. I'll be sending out reminder notices on whatever channel I have, be it Twitter, G+, blog posts,
everything,
etc. Yeah, you just start getting bombarded. So we'd love to see you out there, so definitely sign up and tell us what your dietary preferences are so we don't get you something you can't eat. The second thing I want to announce is that we've got a very special office hours happening next Tuesday. It's actually less of an office hours and more of a live session. We'll be having a guest from the BigQuery team, and we'll be talking about how to use BigQuery and AppScript to do large-scale data analysis and import it into your various apps properties. So we'll have a guest. That's next Tuesday at, I believe it is at 4:30, 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Yeah,
either way, I posted on the
yeah.
I posted on the live site. So go to developers.google.com/live and click on next Tuesday, and you'll see when that's happening. So hopefully you'll be able to join us then. And if not, as always, our sessions are always recorded, so you can watch it later on. So Arun, I'm sorry I've been taking up all this time speaking.
No.
And Arun has had a lot of cool stuff happening. And why don't you tell us about some of it?
Yeah, so I think, like I spoke about last time, I've been really trying to get engaged with the community, go out to these dev fests that have been going on around the world. I went to DC, presented there. Also went to a meetup here locally in New York and presented at the Twillio user meetup. Talked about how SMS and phone calls could be intercepted and kick off AppScript events and services.
And Twillio, tell us what that is for the people that don't.
Twillio is cloud-based telecommunications. So they're a pretty cool company based out of San Francisco. Twillio is twilio.com. Check it out. It's pretty cool. Very affordable. I think it's 1 cent text message, 1 cent a minute for a phone call. So very interesting things that you can do where, let's say if you're a school, if you're taking attendance through a spreadsheet, through forms, you can run an automated script once a week and find the students that are being tardy or skipping class and notify their parents proactively rather than waiting till the teacher gets around to that report. So things like that. So the fact that you can write it all in JavaScript, call out their RESTful services with authentication from AppScript is, I think, pretty powerful combination.
And Twillio has a bunch of things. Like you can use it as an IVR system for, when you call, hello, welcome to movie ticket service, right? Or they also have text-to-speech, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so you can actually have it read out a blurb of text. I forget how long the text can be, but a paragraph or something less, you can have that be read out by a woman with a British accent or a man.
I didn't know you could do that.
Actually,
so not just robot.
Yeah, and you can play MP3 music files as well, so it's actually kind of cool. So, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to really engage with the community is, the beauty of AppScript a lot of times is not just with Google Apps, but to go out and hook into other systems like Salesforce.com or Twilio or getting weather from a third-party system. So URL fetch can be a really powerful friend, and it can do a lot of cool things, especially because it has the ability to do authentication through headers, OAuth 1 support, and we're constantly looking to make that all better. So.
Cool.
And I'm also going to continue my whirlwind tour of trying to get to meet as many developers as possible. So this weekend I'm going to be at the SLC camp here in New York. SLC stands for Shared Learning Collaborative.
Okay.
And they're a nonprofit organization that collects a lot of data about students, anonymous data about students and stats and behavior. And that data can be used for mashups, and you can hack together interesting reports, interesting analytics. You can actually provide information to teachers and other education administrators proactively. So it's sort of a hackathon where they're inviting teachers and students and also in some cases developers, and we're all coming together to build some interesting mashups. And I'm hoping to build a lot of interesting things with the AppScript.
Cool.
And then a couple more things. So the weekend after is 24 Hours of Good. So that's also here in New York. It's actually 24hoursofgood.com. If you're in New York, Seattle, and San Francisco, I think, are the events, or maybe it's LA. But check it out. I think it's really quite good. So, and we're actually going to be there and give a talk on AppScript and encourage people to build stuff on AppScript. And then I'll be at EduCause in Denver. That's for a couple of days. And then I'll be with you at the LA.
Yes, Los Angeles Hackathon. See, I'm going to plug that as much as possible here. Well, besides going to events, you're also working with some of our customers and some of our users to solve some of the problems they're having.
Yeah, and it's been really exciting to kind of get to know our large customers, large partners that are doing some very interesting things, in some cases running into some limits or some issues that might not be apparent and easy to solve. So it's been quite good to get on the phone with these customers, do a hangout, and get to know them a little bit better. And one recent experience that I think is a little worth noting is a customer deployed globally. I think they had 40 or 50,000 users worldwide with a lot of interesting use cases around workflow. So they wanted to be able to come up with a document approval workflow. And email was going to be the mechanism to notify when something gets delegated to a manager for approval, or when something was approved or denied back to the employee. And with that many users, I'm sure you're aware, there are limits around how many emails a single account can send out per day. I believe it's 2,000 for a domain account. So we came up with an interesting mechanism where they could use ScriptDB as sort of a queue for emails to be sent out that the main script would write to. And then that shared library with the access token to the ScriptDB will get used by all these other worker processes that run on a minute trigger or 5-minute trigger, whatever makes sense, spread out amongst multiple different service accounts, 10, 15, 20, whatever might make sense. Each of them that get the 2,000 mail limit per day, and they can pick up those emails and send them out and say, I've sent this email out and mark it checked so that some other agent doesn't pick it up. So it's in this case, it happened to be an interesting workaround, but with the power of ScriptDB, which allows you to share this sort of persistent state across multiple accounts and then have something run on a trigger, you can start to build some interesting workflows that in some cases can help you get around things, in some cases help you build something really cool and exciting. So if you're doing things like that, definitely shoot us a note. I'd love to hear more about it, and we'll try to, and helps us to really understand where are those limits, what are those things that you're having trouble with, and make sure we advocate for you internally and build those capabilities up.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's really important for us to turn up the limits. I know I keep saying this, but things are happening. All right, you guys just have to believe me on this one.
Right, and it should be a process that takes a little bit of time because your code, as you know, are running on Google servers. So we can't just turn the knob and walk away. We have to really make sure that it all makes sense. So, and obviously, we all understand the issues around it. So.
All right. So thank you, Arun. So normally this is about the time when we'd go over the release notes, but we haven't been pushing out anything that's externally visible. So just stay tuned. There's a lot of cool stuff coming. How'd you like to jump on the Hangout? Do you know if there's anyone on right now, or if not, we can start with the questions. And if anyone jumps on the live Hangout, we can. Oh, yes, we've got a couple of folks. Why don't we say hi to these guys first? Hey guys.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you? Bill, is that you?
Yeah, that's me. I'm at my secret hideout. That's why the background looks different.
I'm not in my usual position here, so I can't see the Hangout screen. But I'm just kind of like peeking over when I can.
Yeah, we had some technical issues, and we decided to put the Hangout monitor on our right. So if you see me looking away from the camera, I'm actually looking at the folks on the Hangout, so I apologize.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hi, Arun. I don't think I've met you yet.
Nice to meet you. Is that Bill?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I've seen, I got caught up on the last couple that I missed, so
cool.
Nice to meet you. Welcome to the team.
Thank you very much. I got my official developer relations hoodie, so it's a welcome gift.
Those are great hoodies, by the way. They're super comfortable.
Yes, absolutely.
I was evangelizing for weeks before I realized that these guys didn't have them, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. There's one other gentleman on the Hangout. I don't know. You don't have to say hi if you're shy, but we just wanted to say hi to you. He's shy.
All right.
That's okay. So, Bill, how are you?
Good. Um, I see that you sort of answered the one question I had on the moderator about the Google Sites custom URL.
Why don't we answer that for everyone that's not looking at the moderator?
I think that's officially the #1 requested bug fix of all time. So yeah, we can't
with an app script.
We can't go under exactly with
an
app
script.
Yeah.
We can't sweep that one under the rug. So
yeah. So I have good news and bad news, and the good news is that yes, we're working on this, and it's on our radar, and that I'd like to think that a fix is coming out soon, and hopefully a fix is coming out soon, but I don't have anything announced yet. Just stay tuned.
Okay, so the bad news is it's not yet.
Yeah, the bad news is not yet. But for those people that aren't familiar, the issue is that when you want to create a gadget and put this gadget on the sites page, and the sites page is mapped to a custom domain, it won't work because of various cross-domain issues and authorization. It's completely cross-domain, if I'm mistaken.
Yeah, it's completely to do with the security and authentication, because we're serving the scripts off of .google.com. We need to make extra sure that it's sanitized and there's no cross-frame communication going on. So so we've been in close touch with our developers and engineers and our security analysts, and we've explained to them how important this is and how critical this is. And obviously, all this information that's been, including the ones in all caps, all the comments do get passed on, and we do review it and ensure that it makes sense to fix. And this one, without a doubt.
I don't know if I pass on the ones in all caps. I do pass on the other ones. No, this is definitely a very important issue. I mean, like it's a really bad experience for people that go ahead and create this gadget, and you get a custom domain, and the gadget stops working. So hopefully, we'll have this fixed for you very soon.
Yeah, I think it's something, from the developer community perspective, just to know that it's being worked on, because I recognize that is a pretty serious security issue. Mm-hmm. So I don't have any problem with you guys doing the great job and building it right. The important part was getting an idea that it is actually something that is actively being worked on.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
without a doubt.
I did have one question I didn't put in there, sort of not related to that.
Sure.
I've been trying to empirically find out how many bits of things I can get in a ScriptDB by stuffing it with a known size. So I've got a script that's running.
There is a specific limit.
Yeah,
200 megabyte.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it's up to 200. Okay, I was going to say it was 50.
A personal account is 50.
Right.
A free account, a free Google Apps domain is 100.
Right.
And a paid domain is 200.
Right.
So I want to know, with 200, how many objects is that? That's in megabytes. It's not in JSON objects. So I've got a script that's running right now that's stuffing it. And one of the interesting things that I found is there seems to be a limit. It takes a little while to get objects into the database. So I think it's going to take me a while to actually get to the upper limit. Is there any bottlenecks or anything? I've tried the batch. I've tried saving individual objects. Mm-hmm. I've tried saving batch objects. Can you give me any insight into?
So when you say that there's a limit, you mean that you're not able to push things at a certain speed, or that you'll put things but they aren't
certain number of
way?
Items? Yeah, a certain thing. So first I started by I just created a simple loop to stuff a fixed size object into the ScriptDB and loop through it a bunch of times. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay, that ran slow. That's what I expected. Put it into a batch save process.
Right.
And it seems to go in about at the same speed. It seems to time out. The fastest I was able to do it is about 2,000 objects before the script would time out. Sorry, 4,000 objects before it would time out. And it's a fairly solid. It's just a like one key value pair,
right.
Not very big. And so I just wondered if there's some sort of limit. Or it seems to be a little bit slow in accepting objects, even in the batch mode.
In the batch mode, you're only calling the save batch function once?
Yes.
Huh. So you have an array with about 4,000 or so items, and then you call save batch on those,
yeah,
and it times out.
Yeah. At about around a 2,000 or 4,000 size. So I just wondered if there's something.
Yeah, timeout seems to be an odd response for that.
I mean, it does seem to me like something that would happen, but we just need to figure out why it's doing that, why it's stopping at 4,000 objects or so. So you're saying that when you try with 4,000 objects in a single call, that it times out, and if you try with more, it times out. If you try with fewer, it does not time out?
That's right.
Okay.
And the 4,000, and I should mention, the 4,000 was the highest I was successfully able to do. And it fluctuates with the time of day that, scripts run faster or slower depending on the time of day. Like Monday morning seems to be a little bit slower through the day, but if you run it on Sunday at 3 a.m., things run a little faster. And I assume that's just Google's overall server load.
I don't.
Yeah, that does.
I can't speak to that
Yeah,
particularly. I haven't seen that myself.
And
Logic.
I've got customers. that notice that in particular times of day, scripts run a lot slower than other times of day, and they're running with big data sets. They're running with spreadsheets with 2,000 lines of 40 columns and things like big jumbo spreadsheets on multiple spreadsheets, and they notice a difference in how fast scripts run throughout the day.
I do have a theory, but again, it's I always say this to Arun, I have a theory, it's backed by nothing except me making stuff up, which is that if you double the size of the objects, you would probably stuff half the number of objects before it times out. Like I'd be really curious, send me your script sometime. I'd be really curious if it has to do with the size of the total objects or the number of total objects. Now, I can see a case either way for why it would time out. If it's the number, then it's the overhead of creating an object. Right. Whereas if it's just straight up size, then maybe there's it just has to do with the amount of data that's being pushed down there, the pipe.
I'll definitely, once I get a little farther along, I've got one script that's running now, and I've got a couple. What I was going to do is run it with an object of that size, and then run it with an object twice that size, and just because what I'm trying to do is get a sense of how big of an object, how many objects can you stuff for 200 megabytes? Right. Just so I have some sense of how big, and that was my goal. And it's when I came up to this writing speed was the new interesting sort of observation.
So shoot me an email. If you don't have my email address, it's my first name @google.com.
Okay.
So that's your challenging puzzle to decipher my email address. It's not that hard. It's plastered all over the internet. But shoot me an email with your results, and I can dig. I'd love to dig into this for you because I'm totally interested in data stores. Data stores just rock my world.
Aren't you writing a blog post on ScriptDB?
It's eventually happening. Aren't you doing? And
yes.
I have to call him out on something that he's working on now.
Yes, a lot of things that are not done yet.
So I heard someone jump into the Hangout. We just wanted to say hi. You don't have to say hi back. We just want to say hi to you. If you do, we'd appreciate it. That silence. I need to find a new way of doing that. A new way of.
Hey, my name is Matt. I'm actually a computer science major at University of Central Oklahoma. I just wanted to jump in and just observe the discussion.
Sure. Did you say University of Oklahoma?
I'm sorry?
Did you say University of Oklahoma?
Central Oklahoma.
Central Oklahoma. Okay.
North.
Cool. Just hang out and stay as long as you want.
Yeah, thanks.
Great. So let's see. What other questions can we answer? So here's a gentleman that would like to attach a favicon, an ICO file, against a web app built using UI app.
So with UI app, because you can't change the structure of the document, you're not able to do that. But when you're working with, I think they're pronounced favicons. I don't know. Favicons. You can, if you're using HTML service, you should be able to set it using the link parameter. Now, if Kaha is preventing from doing this, you should let us know. I don't see any way how this would be harmful, so we would want it, whitelisted. But you should be able to set it in the header inside the head element, where you say link rel equals, favicon, and point to favicon. Now, we can't host the favicon for you, but there are lots of places where you can host. You could host it in a Google site. You can host it in any kind of hosting that's retrievable by the public.
That's right. Yeah, so that's actually a really good point. So I would like to know what that works as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. What are my choices to back up Google Apps Script project? I mean, saving my whole project code on another place with some automation. Script files are not included in Drive Sync, neither can they be downloaded.
So one thing that I do is I just make a copy of the script itself. So in Drive, you just do this quickly and cheaply, and this is one way that I back things up. Now, I understand what you're saying, which is that how do you back it up off-site? And That's probably, there are a lot of reasons why you would want to do that. There are a lot of reasons why I want to do that. Our code review tools here at Google, for instance, do not work with AppScript directly. Unfortunate, and we're working on those guys. But for now, what we're going to need to do is, what I do is I take those files, I save them to my local file storage, and I push them into our source control. So source control is another feature that we've heard asked for, and hopefully we'll be able to get that out as well. But for now, those are your solutions. So
Yes.
I don't know if you do anything else.
No, I mean, I guess I just trust the system in this one. So there is version history built in, so you can see what changes are going into your file. So that's kind of part of the system there itself. And I just kind of make it so that I save versions as I need to for bigger snapshots, and I just assume that it's going to be there the next time I come in. So I don't really download it to my local file system that often. I trust, the editor is quite good, so I don't really need to go to a different editor to edit that JavaScript. So
one thing about versions, though, is that it's not a version of the code that you can go back to and edit. And so, for instance, you can't save a version 6 on a version 7, and your version 7 is terrible.
Right.
So go back to version 6, you throw away version 7, and So I do understand, the need for this. But in those cases, if I have a very important, point, that's when I usually fork the script. And it's a little, not the best solution, but it works really well. And search will work, and it will show up in your drive. It won't show up on your local hard drive, but it's something that I've been doing.
when you say fork a script, you mean file?
Copy.
File make a copy.
Got it. That's what
No, I just want to make sure.
I don't have
Terminology-wise,
I've been bugging the team for a apps script app. You know how you have like spreadsheet app and docs list, so that I can actually write scripts that manipulate scripts, but I started to blow too many minds when I suggested. So I'm just wondering, anyone else on the Hangout, if you guys have any practices you guys use for backing up scripts? Bill? Anything
No,
that you do?
I trust Google. I'm a Google Apps reseller as well. So I spend all day selling people on why Google's got a great storage right there. So I do run into that problem when I have a version. I've saved a version, I want to go back. So I try not to make mistakes, but pretty much I do the same as you. If I really want to secure a version, I just I fork it.
Yeah.
One interesting tool you might want to pass along is I just found the JS lint, the web page, and I've been pasting my app script into it, and it's helped a little bit improve my my code discipline, if you will. And I was thinking that, like you, I'd like to have. I was thinking, well, geez, I should write a script that writes scripts or review scripts. So it'd be nice if we could have a script access another script, and we could build our own JS lint, or if you want to build that in for us into the editor. There's a bit of one in the IDE now, but
I think one of the limitations, though, that we run into is that, because an app script is not treated as a set of files in Drive, which is complicated. If it were, for instance, we could write a Drive app that downloads it, lints it, pushes it into the source control, or pushes it into your code review tool. Part of me wonders, it's good that we provide all this functionality, but there's that line we draw between what should we provide and what should we just build on what exists now, right? Source control is something that people, well, I'm sorry?
I was just going to say, part of the value in AppScript is the simplicity of it. Right. It's not meant to do everything. So, I agree. Adding features adds complexity, and that actually raises the bar to new developers using it.
But what new features can we add such that if you were an advanced developer or an experienced developer and you have a specific tooling need, and you should be able to do workflow on your docs and your email, but you also should be able to do workflow on your apps themselves.
Yeah. Is there a particular reason why they're not saved as an actual file? Because they're simply just a text file, right?
Well,
and they are somewhere.
Yeah, they are. They're certainly somewhere.
They are somewhere.
There's up until recently, I think this spring is when you could create standalone scripts. Up until then, it was container bound.
Right.
So the container bound scripts, imagine if all of a sudden they just started showing up in your drive. I think that might be a little alarming for some folks, because a single spreadsheet might have 4, 5, 6 scripts, depending on the events that you may tie into. So that's one of the reasons was up until recently we didn't have this concept of a project that's standalone, that's on your drive. It becomes more of a possibility now because you've specifically said this is a standalone container rather than bound to another container. So it becomes more reasonable, I guess, but not something that we've actively considered.
It was interesting. I have someone that I'm teaching AppScript, and he's a 20-year coder. And it took a little while in the first session to explain. This was just back in the spring before they had the standalone. It took a little bit of a discussion about the idea of a spreadsheet as a container, or as a site as a container.
Right.
It took a little bit of time to kind of say, well, no, it doesn't really exist anywhere except it's attached to something.
Right.
I wonder if there are ways we can improve the UI. For instance, now that you have the standalone script editor, for instance, you have a spreadsheet-bound UI. There should be some indicator like, hey, here's how you get back to original spreadsheet. And there are things
that's
we do
in the
now.
issue tracker.
Yeah, I believe it. And I'm wondering what the right thing for us to do there is. So let's move on to something else. There's a couple of questions which I've posted comments on. So let's see. I'll let you pick.
All
Let
right,
you pick who
let's
the winning
see
questions are.
here. So this one is around the error messages around your script has recently failed to finish successfully. So this must be maybe they registered for a trigger. You've already responded to this one?
I've tried to. So the question is, your script not found has recently failed to finish successfully. Now, I'm pretty sure that we finished dealing with orphan script, but there probably are a few orphan script out there somewhere. So what you'll want to do is open up a script editor. This is at script.google.com, and go to, I think it's Tools, All of My Triggers, and you'll see if anything's running. Because I know I've solved this for someone where if you go there and you just say, oh, I have these extra triggers, delete, 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 it'll do what you need to do, and
That's a
it'll
good
close this
point.
thing down.
That's a good point. All right, let's see here. Links to Stack Overflow. I won't click on that for now. All right.
So the question is about, can we clarify quotas? And we're running out of time, so we won't be able to do this. But that is a very good question. The question is about which quotas are being used in a web app, and it's very confusing because sometimes you use ScriptDB quota, which is the user's quota, and sometimes it's developer's quota. And when something is run by a user, it's using the user's quota. So where do we draw those lines? And I think that we need to draw this out.
I agree.
You draw this out. And if you have anything else to add to make that simpler for people.
Yeah, in general, it really depends on whether you're publishing your app as a user authenticated app or an anonymous authenticated app, which is running as yourself. So if you're sending emails in that scenario, you'll have to be really worried about that limit we talked about earlier. So it really is, there's multitude of use cases that are now possible, and we probably need like a little chart of saying, here's what your impact's going to be, little sliders and knobs and stuff.
Charts.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
I think we're coming up on time. Do we have time for one more?
We are just running out of time.
All right, cool.
If I'm getting the signal. So thank you all very much for joining us today. And again, we will have office hours next Thursday, as well as next Tuesday is a special session. We'll be talking about BigQuery. And BigQuery, if you're not familiar with BigQuery, it's a way to take very large data sets and do SQL-like analysis on them. And this is very useful. This is built on a tool that we use at Google to do logs analysis. I mean, we have lots and lots of logs, and we need tools to analyze them. So the tool that we've exposed is called BigQuery. Very cool tool. Check that out. I think you can find it at cloud.google.com, or should link to it. So check them out. And if you want to learn more, join us on Tuesday.
All right, thank you. See ya.
Thank you all very much.